have it, go ahead and close it out. Yeah.
Okay, no worries. Hi, so my name is Katie Winders, and today we're going to talk about is QuickBooks Online right for you? And I think I'm looking at the poll results that this is going to be hopefully really helpful to those of you that this is all new to you, that you've been working it with for less than a year. And also if you've been working with it a little bit longer, hopefully there's going to be a little hint or tip that you're garnering from this. So my information is here again, as Elizabeth said. I'm the director of the Valley Sierra SBDC. We cover Stanislaus and Tuolumne counties. And here at our center, we offer QuickBooks consulting on both desktop and online. So if you're needing help with that, we can help you with that. I did operate my own QuickBooks business. I have over 16 years of experience specifically with QuickBooks. The majority of that is desktop, but a lot of it transfers over to online just fine. And of course, online is becoming, in a lot of cases, the more preferred version. And we'll kind of talk about why as we go through a sample program. I did grow up in a family, a business with entrepreneurs. My mom was an entrepreneur. My sister was an entrepreneur. And I really have a passion and love working with small business owners. So this job is the perfect fit for me. I am a pro advisor. And so if you do need any help, having a pro advisor just assures that they have a little extra level of knowledge and training. So I want to talk about record keeping for just a second. And one of the questions I usually ask more in a class format, but I know you're all out there, I just can't see you, is why do we keep records? And the answers that come back are, well, the IRS makes us usually, that we have to file a tax return. And while that's true, I would also argue that it really is essential for making good business decisions. If you don't know what your income is, you don't know what your outgo is, how are you going to make good business decisions? You can't make those based on your bank balance. And so just really encouraging you to set up a record keeping system that allows you to have those records to make decisions. And then just pointing out that one of the top reasons that businesses fail is that they're not keeping good records. All of a sudden they realize that the money in the bank really should have gone to a loan and just causes cash flow issues. And then sometimes a business goes out, and we at the SBDC, we don't want to see that happen if we can prevent it. I also like to talk just briefly about checks and balances. Being a bookkeeper for so many years and going into a lot of different businesses and a lot of different industries, I unfortunately have seen a lot of fraud. And came across this fraud triangle a few years ago, and I think it just gives you kind of a little bit of something to think about. So I'm going to just touch on it briefly. The fraud triangle has 3 points to it. The first top point is motivation. Sometimes that's also called pressure, and that comes in the way of sometimes financial pressures, sometimes addiction issues, which are causing pressures. The lower left point is rationalization. And that comes in the way of someone not feeling appreciated, feeling that they should get a raise when they haven't got one, that they're doing more than they're being compensated for. And then the final point of the triangle is opportunity. Opportunity is when you don't have a separation of duties and that person has ability to do everything. So they are able to go to the bank and pick up the mail. They're the one making up the deposit. They're the one posting the deposit. They're the ones reconciling your checking account. And so what I would encourage you to do so you don't get into the fraud triangle, you can stay out of that, is to make sure that you have a separation of duties. And that means that, again, the person who gets the mail is not the same person who's reconciling the checking account. And I have a lot of examples of situations that have happened. And in most of those cases, the individual who, for some reason, decided that they were compromising their values and stealing from their employer, it wouldn't have happened if the employer were setting up separation of duties and so that they weren't falling into this fraud triangle. So that is the end for our little PowerPoint. I want to go ahead and just quickly jump into QuickBooks Online and explain a little bit about the different options that are available. And so I just Googled QuickBooks Online, compare plans, and this is what came up. And so within QuickBooks, they want you to be able to pick the right plan that's for you. And there are 4 different plans. The advanced is brand new. And so as we get to the bottom, we'll see what that's about. But the last time I taught this class in April, this was not on the chart. The first option is Simple Start, is the most inexpensive. Again, QuickBooks Online is in the cloud. You're going to be paying a monthly fee for QuickBooks Online. You can often find a 50% sign up. This one's for 3 months. I've seen in different places for up to 12 months. But the Simple Start is really basic. It's going to be for 1 user. It's going to track income and expenses. Track mileage if you want to. You can invoice and accept payments, run reports, do estimates, sales tax, organize receipts, and manage 1099 contractors. You're not going to be able to manage bills. If you want to manage bills, which I would recommend you do, you're going to need Essentials for that. They're calling Plus the most popular, but Essentials used to be the most popular. So if you want to enter your bills, be able to watch your cash flow, and when we get into QuickBooks, I'll kind of show you exactly what I mean by that. But if you want to manage bills, you're going to have to select the Essentials. Let me scroll down a little bit further. If you want to track time, you're also going to need to get the Essentials version. Moving down a little bit more for Plus, if you are wanting to track project profitability, you're going to need to get the Plus version. And then on top of that, if you want to do any inventory tracking. Project profitability is really important if you're some type of a subcontractor or anyone that bids on a job and then they want to look at that job specifically by income and by expenses. And so if that is important to you, you'll need to go ahead and get the Plus. And then moving on to the new version, which they're calling Enhanced, a few more options that you have available. You can customize your users. You can accelerate your invoicing. They have some stronger, more powerful reporting processes, custom fields that you can add, and a higher level of care if you need help.
Hey, Katie, would you like me to launch the poll on the second?
Absolutely, yes. Let's launch the second poll.
Wonderful. So you should be seeing a poll pop up on your screen. We want to know what kind of business do you operate? And this will help us determine maybe some recommendations for your choice. So we have professional and field service. So are you going out and servicing, providing service to consumers directly? Are you doing professional service? Do you have a brick and mortar maybe, or a wholesale business, even online sales? So you could see product sales. Are you in hospitality? So we have some good numbers rolling in here. Our second question is, how many employees are in your organization? So this is good to know for user-wise, and also managing payroll can be challenging. So I'm going to end this poll and share the results with you. We have 38% of attendees have a professional or field service type business, and 25 are nonprofits.
Interesting.
Yeah, welcome. Thanks for being here. How many employees are in your organization? There are 46%. It's just them or them and their partner. We have 38% with 1 to 4 employees, and 13 with 5 to 25 employees. So great. Thanks so much for participating. I'm going to stop share. And did that close out for you?
No, I'm still on. Can you still see my QuickBooks screen?
Great. Yep.
Okay, fantastic.
Thanks.
So we'll go ahead and thank you for giving us that information, letting us know who is out there. For the payroll, they do have 2 different payroll options. You pay extra for both of those, both monthly and per employee. One is a more of a self-service payroll, going to be a little bit cheaper, recommended if you are the type of person that is going to stay on track and on top of timelines, when to file, when to make your payments, all that. Or if you are just busy with other stuff and you just want all of that done for you, QuickBooks offers that as well. Obviously, you still need to turn in your hours, and QuickBooks will process that for you. Another big factor of the different levels is how many users you can have. So Simple Start is only going to allow for 1 user, Essentials up to 3, Plus up to 5, and then the new Advanced is up to 25. And I'm guessing that's one of the reasons they've added the Advanced, is there's some larger companies that are really using it out in the field with different workers out in the field and whatnot, and they needed to accommodate more people. So at this point, I'm going to pop over into a sample file. And in our sample file, if you ever want to just go in and play with QuickBooks and try some things, if you Google QuickBooks Online Test Drive, it will bring up the sample file. It's Craig's Design and Landscape, and it is a pro version, and so you can go in there and play and try things in the pro version. I encourage clients with QuickBooks to do that, because if you go into yours and play around and change some things and then don't know how to change it back, it does stick on like desktop where you could pull up an old version. And so if you just want to kind of experiment with some functionality, I encourage you to do it here. So we're now in Craig's Design and Landscape, a full service design and landscaping business. And I just want to talk about the how to navigate around. And so first of all, this is your dashboard. Anytime you want to get back to this, you're going to click on your dashboard. Over in the upper right are some really important features. The first one here is the little plus sign, which they have called the Quick Create. So if you click on your Quick Create, it's going to open up the most common functions that you want to do so that you can do them quickly without jumping into your navigation bar and into your centers. So under Quick Create, we have a field for customers with many options, vendors, employees, as well as other. So under customers, if you just wanted to quickly pop in and make an invoice, open your Quick Create, click on Invoice. It's going to open up an invoice. You're going to select a customer. I'm going to select Cool Cars. There's our customer's email, so we can send them their invoice right quick. All the information should be here if you've set it up. If not, you can set it up at that time. We're going to quickly bill that customer for some installation services, 1 hour, or let's say 10 hours at $50 an hour. So we're going to bill the customer for $500. We can put a message on our invoice. We can customize that. We can put a message on their statement. We can also attach, if you need to attach a copy of a receipt or something. I can save and send it to my customer right quick. In this case, I'm going to save and close since we are in a pretend company. And boom, we've just created an invoice really quickly. So on the fly, that's a great option. Also within our Quick Create, we can receive a payment. So if then Cool Cars has sent a payment, I can pop in, type in their name, say what date the payment came in, how they paid, reference number. I want you to note that this deposit is going to undeposited funds. This is a really important feature in an area that I see a lot of clients get a little stuck on, and the result is double booking your income. And so down, when we get to another section, we're going to talk about undeposited funds a little bit later. We are going to post how much the payment is for. And as soon as we do that, QuickBooks has automatically checked this invoice, since it was the only invoice open, and applied it to the invoice. And then again, we can just click save and close, and now that payment is posted. So that Quick Create is really handy. get in the habit of using that. In addition to invoicing, receiving payments, we can also create estimates, credit memos, sales receipts. Sales receipts are very similar to an invoice. However, sales receipts assume payment right then and there. So it's a cash type transaction. And so instead of having to go invoice, receive payment, we can just create a sales receipt and it'll do that transaction in one step instead of two. We can refund receipts, do delayed credits and charges under vendor. I can enter an expense. So I clicked enter an expense. I want to go ahead and pay Cal Telephone or enter an expense for Cal Telephone for a certain amount. And then we would decide what category this fits in. I'm going to assume that Cal Telephone is a utility or a telephone expense. So I am scrolling down through my chart of accounts. The chart of accounts is the backbone of all of our accounting, and it's very important that anytime you categorize something, you categorize it correctly. So I'm going to select telephone, and the amount is $150 or $15. And if I wanted to put that directly towards a customer, that job costing aspect, I could. Of course, I wouldn't do that with the telephone bill because that's a general expense. Save and close, and now that invoice is in there entered and waiting to be paid. Pop back into Quick Create just to give a few more examples. In addition to entering an expense, you can write a check. You can enter a bill. You can pay bills, create a purchase order if your business uses purchase order, and then do vendor credits, credit card credits, and print checks from within there. Within employees, you can process your payroll and time card activity. And then under other, make a bank deposit, transfer funds, create a journal entry, create statements, and adjust your inventory if need be. Moving further along, in the upper right-hand corner, we have the search key. Search function is really nice. You can search about anything. You can search name, you can search date, you can search dollar amount. So if I just wanted to, I was looking for a transaction for $100, I can put that in. QuickBooks will quickly pull up any transactions I had for $100. And then you can further filter your search if you want to, but it's a nice feature if you're looking for something quick, whether it be a name, amount, or date. Next, we have this little guy. This is the gear icon. And the gear icon is where a lot of your accounts and settings type information is. And so again, we've got several different categories. The first one is your company. Under your company, you have accounts and settings. And I'm going to go in there because often QuickBooks sets up the accounting as you're entering information at the very beginning, and you're not aware of additional things that you can do because in accounts and settings, they're turned off. So looking at accounts and settings, we have several different options over here on the left. The first one is under company. This is where you can add your logo. If you're doing business as, you can add another name. You should have your EIN or your social security number entered in here. Over to the right, you'll notice a pencil. Any of these, by opening the pencil, you can go in and edit that information. For company type, you want to be able to say what type of tax form you need to use based on your company type, as well as you can put your industry in. You can put your company email, website, phone number, all of this information, and address, all of that information. So if you started out with not putting everything in, that's where you're going to do it. Next, I'm going to click down into usage. QuickBooks in April of this year started, I guess they realized that there is really a lot of data storage going on, and so you may need to upgrade your plan based on data, and this is where it's showing what your plan is and how much data you've used. Under sales, you can customize your invoice so it looks the way you want it to be. You can select your preferred terms, your preferred delivery method, maybe that's online, shipping, custom fields, service dates, all of this information here you can select if it works for your business type. Products and services, if you want to show the product or service column on your sales form, that's a nice feature. tracking quantity and price rates, tracking inventory on hand. If you want to do progress invoicing, so I'm a landscaper and I've estimated a job to be $10,000. If I'm asking for $20,000 at the beginning of the job, I can progress invoice if this feature is turned on. What kind of messages, any type of reminders, and also if you want to show aging at the bottom of your statement. Next category is expenses. Here are particulars for bills and expenses, showing item table on expense and purchase form, tracking expenses by customer, making expense and item billable. If you're using purchase orders, currently it's turned on, but if you didn't want to have that feature turned on, of course you could turn it off. And then finally, over in advanced, accounting. When you started your accounting, are you accrual or are you cash basis? Your chart of accounts, do you want to show numbers or just names on your chart of accounts? Just a preference there. This one is a really important one, categories. So for tracking, you can track classes as well as locations. I think locations is pretty straightforward, but let me give you an example of classes. And so let's say I'm a painter and I want to track my commercial clients separate from my residential clients. Then I would turn my class tracking on, and then every time I entered income or expenses, I would put that towards my commercial or residential, and then I can see what is the better revenue stream for my company. And really interesting information. You can then run your profit and loss based on that track and see where your money is coming in, and maybe you want to focus more on commercial and less on residential based on that data. So just a nice analytical tool. Projects, organizing jobs, job-related activity in one place. If you want to do time tracking, change your currency, other preferences, how your dates look, what your number format is, that type of thing. So just know that all of these are available within here. I'm going to click out of there, back into my gear. We looked at accounts and settings. You can also manage users from within here. I would definitely recommend that every single user have their own username and logon. QuickBooks keeps an audit trail of everything that's being done within QuickBooks, and you want each person to have their own login so that audit trail is showing separately. If you want to change your forms, chart of accounts, quick place to access it here. If you want to take a look at your chart of accounts, we're going to look at it when we get over into our navigation bar. And then labs is a place where QuickBooks is kind of trying new things that you can check out. Under lists, you can look at all lists, or you can specifically look. So we got chart of accounts, recurring transactions, products, forms, payment method terms. So all your different lists are in there. You can also select just products and services, recurring transactions, and looking at your attachments if you're looking for something. Under tools, importing, exporting data, reconciling your banking account. You can do it from here. You can also do it from within your navigation bar. Budgeting, your audit log, and then just a little bit of information, your user profile over here. So that covers everything in our upper right-hand side. And I know I'm kind of going a little quickly. I want to make sure I cover as much information as possible. Over on the left-hand side, we've already talked about the dashboard. That's your front screen, giving you a nice little snapshot of what is going on with your business. Next one on the navigation bar is your banking center. And I would say that the majority of QuickBooks Online users are using it specifically for the banking center. They want the QuickBooks Online to talk to all of your bank accounts and credit cards and automatically bring the information in. And so that is, it really is the #1 reason that business owners select QuickBooks Online. So I'm in banking, and you're going to notice we have 3 different bars here. This is our checking account, our savings account, and one of the credit card accounts. You can have more accounts here. To set up another one, you would simply select Add Account. You're going to put the name of whatever it is, Oak Valley Community Bank. Click on that, and then you're going to walk through the process of setting that up. Some banks have a small fee for that, some don't. So you'll just have to check with your individual bank. So if we had walked through that process and set it up, we would see another box that would be added. From here, I want to go ahead and show you the steps to go ahead and accept the different transactions. So I'm going to click back over on the checking account. And when you click on there, it's showing you the bank balance, which unfortunately is negative for our little business here. And it also shows you what QuickBooks is saying. Once you have all of these transactions recorded and received, these two numbers should be the same, and you want to see them the same. If you're working and down the road, you're seeing discrepancies here, which I have seen, it's because something has gotten entered erroneously. It is still very, very important to reconcile your checking accounts. Clients want to think that because QuickBooks is bringing everything in, that everything should automatically reconcile, and I've seen both manual entries by clients that made things off, as well as QuickBooks bringing in something incorrectly and it throwing it off. So it is important that you're reconciling and that these numbers are balancing. So within the banking and receiving these different numbers, we have 3 sections for review, what's already been reviewed, and what you've decided to exclude. And so for review, what you need to do is go through each one of these and decide where to post it. So for example, I spent $1,200 on a rental. I want to make sure I'm filling in my payee, which is a rental, and that I'm posting it to the correct category. So uncategorized expense is what QuickBooks is trying to figure out to put it towards, but we know we don't want uncategorized expense. So I'm going to click open that uncategorized expense, and then I'm going to classify it to the correct area. So probably going to be equipment rentals, if that is something that we have right there, equipment rental. Book it to that. I could put it towards a customer. As soon as I say add, that's going to fall off the list, and it's putting it into my check register. And these numbers are now closer by $1,200 since I posted that. So let me show you another expense. So here is an expense to Pam. It is showing that the expense was for $75. And QuickBooks is saying, I don't really know where to put it. Do I want to put it towards Pam or Books by Bessie? And so this is where it's important for you that you're categorizing things correctly, garbage in, garbage out. And so I'm going to look in my records, decide whether it's Books by Bessie or Pam. Once I've decided, then I can match. So I've showed you a couple just kind of manually doing it one by one. The great thing about QuickBooks is this process, and it doesn't need to be tedious and one by one. You can sort by payee, so your payees grouped together, and I can receive multiples at a time. You can sort, how it was sorted before was by date, but you want to figure out a system so that as quickly as possible you can categorize these to the correct account, all expenses and all income. I will caution you on your income that I'm going to go ahead and open this one up by clicking it. QuickBooks is going to make its best guess. This one looks good. It's for $694. That's the deposit that came in. If you have a business where you regularly accept $150 over and over, you really still need to make sure that you're matching this transaction to the correct payment in QuickBooks, that you're not getting those mixed up. It'll give you a list of them. And so again, garbage in, garbage out, make sure you're posting things correctly. So I'm going to put match there. So I hope that gives, I want to cover some of the other navigation bar areas. I hope that covers it. I will tell you that there is a great YouTuber called named Hector Garcia. He's a CPA out of Florida, and he does a lot of YouTubes, and he is my go-to guy when I'm trying to figure something out. So if I've covered this too quickly and you really need a more in-depth look at this, please go to YouTube, Hector Garcia, QuickBooks Online, and you will find videos on pretty much every area within there. So you would make sure you categorize all these transactions, go into your savings account, categorize this, go into your MasterCard, categorize all that. And then once you've done that, you're going to do it on a regular basis. then everything's going to be posted into your checking accounts and credit card accounts correctly. Jumping into our next item on our navigation bar is the expense category. You can look at all of your expenses here. So those are all the expenses that you've entered or have been brought in by your banking center. You can also look at your vendors. So if you need any information from one of your vendors, or if you want to see who you're owing money to, this is a snapshot of all your vendors. If you want to enter a new vendor, upper right-hand corner, you're going to select new vendor, enter all of their information. And if you use independent contractors or subcontractors, this is where you're going to indicate whether you're tracking that and put in their social security or EIN number right here. So again, the rule is if you use any non-corporation to do a service for you, wash your windows, clean your office, landscaping, accountants, attorneys, anyone who's doing a service for you, they're not an employee, this is where you want to track that information. So at the end of the year, you can conveniently print out your 1099. So I just wanted to make sure we highlighted on that. But within expenses, you're going to have a list of all your expenses. You can look at these in any way. Anytime it has the little arrow up or down, you can sort that way. And then again, your vendors are right here. Jumping into sales, showing sales, you can look at all of your sales. You can look at invoices that you've created. You can create a new invoice in here. You can look at all your customers. And then you can also look at products and services. So this is where your products and services. One thing I want to mention from within your products and services is that anytime you enter an item, a product or service, and I'm going to drill into this one just to show you, you're going to name that item. We're calling it concrete, but then it is affiliated to an income account, which is on your chart of accounts. And so it's important that concrete be affiliated with the correct type of expense. So just be really wary of that. Otherwise, funny things can happen on your reporting. I'm going to skip projects for right now, but you're welcome to open this up and drill down into there. Workers is your employee center. They have employees in here. Let's bring it up, as well as contractors. The contractors are any of those vendors that you gave a you marked check mark to get an independent, to get a 1099, sorry. So contractors are anyone that you marked to get a 1099. So this information is really a duplicate of expenses, your vendor list that they're checked to get a 1099. Within employees, payroll is fairly easy to set up. You just walk through a process, answer some questions. You do have to sign to get permission to pay your federal and state taxes electronically, but it's a fairly quick and easy process to do. Next, we have reports. One feature that I really like are the favorite reports. And so I always like to look at the profit loss and the balance sheet. So those are marked as favorites. I also want to look at my accounts payable sheet on a regular basis. And so I'm going to go ahead and mark that one as well. And so here is my account payable aging summary. Going to mark that as a favorite. Maybe, maybe not. There it goes. And then now that's showing up here as one of the other reports I like to look at on a regular basis. So go ahead and use that favorite feature. But meanwhile, you have a ton of different reports that you are able to run. I want to go ahead and run a few reports. The first one, let's go ahead and look at our accounts payable aging summary. So this is a report giving us a list of all the bills that we have coming due that we're going to need to pay. So we've entered them as a bill. We've selected when they're due, so we know what the due date is, and then we're planning on paying that close to the due date. Using accounts payable feature in here is nice because it allows you to manage your cash. So I know that coming up, I have bills coming due of $1,600. On bigger companies, obviously this number could be up around $60, $70, $100,000. And so it's nice for you to know how much money do I need to bring in? What are the payables that I'm looking at that need to be paid? So I think that is an important report to look at. Equally important, your accounts receivable aging summary, what kind of monies you're waiting to come in. So here is a list of all of our customers that owe money, and it's aged to show when they owe it. And so at this point, Red Rock Diner is out 61 to 90 days. I may ask my office person to go ahead and send out a statement or give them a call and ask when we can expect that payment. And so always a good idea to monthly run your AR and see if anything is falling out there, so you can again manage that cash and don't let clients get behind on paying. Going back to the report list, super important, your profit and loss, all your money coming in and all your money going out. So you've got your income coming in and you've got your expenses going out. So that's in a nutshell, pretty basic, but that's what we're looking at. And so we have income from design. First of all, if you scroll up top, this is where the parameters are. So this is a profit and loss year to date from the first of the year through today. I can select how I want my columns to look if I wanted to show that by class. If I'm cash or accrual, and then when you change your parameters, you run report. Here's that report showing all of your income from your various income sources. Here's our label or installation income. Total income is showing at $10,000. Anytime you see that change to blue, you can click in, drill in, and see where that number comes from. So, and then reclassify it's in the wrong place. And so definitely before you do your taxes at year end, you're going to want to drill into all these numbers and make sure they're accurate. Then after our total income, we have our cost of goods sold. This number looks low to me. I would question it because I believe for this type of business, cost of goods sold would be much higher, but that's what we have posted in here. And then below that, we have all our expenses, our advertising, our auto, that equipment rental, job materials, legal and accounting, and all the other different categories of expenses that you can see. Then at the bottom, you're seeing your net income or your net loss down here at the bottom. Let me go back to the reports list and then briefly pop into the balance sheet. Another very important report to get used to and to learn about. A balance sheet is a snapshot of time of how your business is doing. So as of today, at this moment, how is my business doing? Well, my checking account is negative, so that's kind of a bummer. I have $800 in savings, so maybe I should transfer some money over. I owe over $5,000, and so I better get to work because I need to make some money. And then I have a little bit of inventory assets, and there's some money sitting in undeposited funds waiting to go to the bank. On my liability side, I have some payables. I have some MasterCards. I'm sorry, I said that backward up here. This is money coming in. This is receivables money. We're waiting to come in, so we need to get that money coming in. Anyways, on this side, there are your liabilities, monies that you're owing. I feel like I'm talking really fast. Next is taxes. If you charge sales tax, this is where you're going to manage that sales tax feature. There is a mileage feature, and most important, and then I'll check my questions because I can't see them until they drop down. Most important is our accounting center within our navigation bar. And the accounting center is going to show me my chart of accounts. Again, this is the backbone of all your accounting, how everything is posting, whether it's posting to income or an expense or it's an asset, all of those particulars you can see in here. And so let's talk about that for a few minutes, and then I'm going to pop in and see if there are any questions. And if not, I can give a little example of a client's profit and loss. But here we are in our chart of accounts. This is where we can also reconcile the account to make sure it's still matching your bank balance. Again, you must still reconcile all accounts. Just because QuickBooks is bringing it in doesn't make sure it's 100% accurate. You need to do that reconciliation. If it is accurate, it's not going to take you more than 2 or 3 minutes, maybe 5. So on our chart of accounts, QuickBooks is organizing them by type. We have our bank accounts up at the top, our receivable accounts. We have some asset accounts in the way of inventory sitting on the shelves, some prepaid expenses. Here's our undeposited funds. I'm hoping to pop into that before we run out of time, but if not, remember Hector. We have some vehicles, we have some accounts payables. I'm seeing a couple more questions come in. Our credit card accounts, other liability accounts, any type of loans that you're owing should show here. The chart of accounts really tells the story of your business in numbers. So it's really important that this information is accurate. Income accounts. So for some reason, this particular company has, I don't know, what is it, like 12 income accounts? I would definitely skinny this down a little bit. I think it's a bit much for this company and not have so many, because there are so many. QuickBooks also likes to throw in accounts like uncategorized income. The IRS doesn't want to see uncategorized income, so make sure if anything lands in uncategorized income that you do reclassify that. Then we go into your cost of goods sold, and then from there, expenses. Your expenses should be enough information that it is valuable information to you and the company, but not so much detail that it's tedious. And you do have the ability to merge accounts if you have too many accounts. So for example, let's say I had fuel, and then at a later date, someone set up an account called gas. I can actually merge those two accounts back into one. So know that you can do cleanup within your chart of accounts. So we just have about 7 minutes left. I'm going to go ahead and pop into the questions and see if we can answer some of those. Starting out at the top, please give URL again. So if you are looking specifically for this QuickBooks test account, you need to Google QuickBooks Online Test Drive, like you're test driving a car, test drive, and then it will take you to this pretend account. You're also welcome to email me if you are having a hard time finding it. Next one, will QuickBooks work for the service industry such as real estate? Absolutely. So if definitely real estate, any service industry, QuickBooks Online is going to be a good option for. Right now, I would say, in my opinion, the industries that it is not ideal for is is construction, because they are still working on the job profitability aspect of it, and desktop does a better job, in my opinion. The other industry is manufacturing. If you're really doing some deep manufacturing type transactions, QuickBooks Online might not be the right choice for you. Next question. For example, we are selling building A, all ads, maintenance costs, and fees assigned just to this building, then building B, C, etc. Then it rolls up the totals. Yes, so you're doing some project or job costing, what they're calling project. So over here in the projects, as long as you don't need to also job cost specific employee labor, not a subcontract, but employee labor, then I'm going to say yes, online will be a good option for you. If I accidentally split an expense into 2 different categories, is there a way to undo that? Absolutely. Drill down into that expense and just reclassify it. Take away the one that you don't want it in. So for example, I think you can still see my regular screen. Let me run let's just run a profit and loss and go down into an expense, and I'm drilling down into gas and electric, and I'm specifically drilling down into that bill. And what he means by split is when you go and have an expense, let's say you run to Costco, you may buy just office supplies, but you might buy office supplies and grab a set of tires right while you're there. And if that's the case, you can't book everything to office supplies. You're going to book it to office supplies, and on the second line, book it to tires. So let's say this one, you accidentally put advertising in for $10, and then, so now we have 2 splits. Our total's correct, but we have 2 splits. All you would do is open this up, make sure this amount is correct to equal the total, and then just the little trash can icon, boom, get rid of it, and now that you don't have a split transaction anymore. But I'm glad you asked that question, because split transactions are really important, because it's not, it's very common to go out and pay your ATM and to have several items that need to be split. So I hope that answered that. To link POS from ShopKeep, do I need to install online QuickBooks? So I don't have a lot of experience working directly with ShopKeep, but I'm going to guess yes, but I would definitely get on YouTube and do a little more research. I can't answer that one plainly. Is this compatible to Mac? Yes, absolutely. That is another one of the top reasons that clients are going to online is they are Mac users, and QuickBooks is compatible with Mac. So definitely. Also out in the field, you can use your phone, you can use your iPad, those Mac devices as well, Apple devices. So yes, definitely. Oh, good, Maria, I did answer your question. I have another one coming in. If we have QuickBooks Desktop, can we use QuickBooks Online also? Are they two separate programs? They are 100% two separate programs. QuickBooks Online is what we've been looking at. QuickBooks Desktop resides on the desktop. You can use one on the other. You can't use both. You can easily move from desktop to online. It is not as easy to move from online back to desktop. And so if you're going to make that transition to online, I would definitely do some research. I have a nice tool that actually I got again from Hector that shows all the different features and whether it is a good idea to transfer over. I would do it very judiciously. Make that, make that choice very judiciously, because again, it's hard to move back. You can. Differences in price. QuickBooks Desktop, $200. You can use it for 3 years minimum. QuickBooks Online monthly subscription. I showed you at the very beginning what those fees were. And so QuickBooks Online is definitely much more expensive, probably going to save you some time. And so you're going to want to evaluate your time in that as well. Just had another question. Oh, sorry. Hector Garcia, Hector's last name. Hector Garcia, he is in Florida. He is a CPA, and he speaks at events, but he also, I trust his information. And again, anytime I have a question about QuickBooks Online, that's where I go. And I think one more question, and then I'm going to show you a report really quick and show you, looking at it really quickly, how I saw some issues. Question, we provide professional services for construction industry using desktop. Should we make the switch to online? I would have a conversation with someone, myself or another pro advisor. The problem with job costing, and it depends if you're job costing, and the problem is that QuickBooks Online is not yet really efficiently job costing labor. So, John goes out to the job and he's at job A, and then Joe's to job B. And desktop, very easily you can job cost to the different jobs. QuickBooks Online, not so much, but I believe that they're working on it because they know that's something that they're definitely looking to do. And one more question, if you do not own a business and want to manage personal budget, finance, etc., would this be a good tool? Absolutely. So personally, I'm kind of a nerd. You might have figured that out. And I track everything. I use desktop because I've been doing it for so long, and I pop in quick and easy. But yes, if you want to manage your personal finances, they also have another option called SE, QuickBooks SE, for self-employed. And that is another QuickBooks program that you use on your phone that is a quick and easy way to track expenses as well. But I would absolutely encourage you to do that. I'm going to show you one thing super quick before we pop off, because I want to be cognizant of your time, and hoping that, not sure, hoping that you can see this, because I kind of dragged it over and maybe you can.
Looks great.
Can you see it?
Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. Okay, I'm going to do this really quick because I'm 1 minute over already. So this is a client that came in. This is an actual copy of his profit and loss from 2016. He hired a gal to do QuickBooks Online for him. She told him that she was very experienced, that she knew what she was doing. And I looked at his profit and loss, and the first thing I said is, well, did you have sales? Because he said something's not right. And I said, well, your sales, were they close to 1.8 mil? And he said, well, no, not even close. And so the first thing I noted is this unapplied cash payment income. So if you ever see anything on your P&L with this type of title, everything in there needs to be reclassified. Something's wrong. So scrolling down in his P&L, well, I noticed there's no owner labor. That was one little thing. But also down here, huge chunk of uncategorized expenses. IRS doesn't dig on uncategorized expenses. All of that needs to be reclassified. Drilling down into his balance sheet, noticing again this kind of uncategorized asset and undeposited funds with balances in it. All of this is duplicated income. So the gal that was doing his books was entering an invoice, showing it paid, and then she was going in and rebooking the income again. So this is all duplicative income. And so that's why when I said, are you doing 1.8 million in sales? And he said, no, it's closer to $1 million. That's where the error is. So it really is important as a business owner to be able to look at your P&L and balance sheet and look at it and read the story and see if there are any issues. So I went 2 minutes, also net loan balances can't be negative. But anyways, 2 minutes over. I want to thank everyone for spending some time with me today. Thank you to Elizabeth and the CSU Bakersfield SBDC. And again, my email is kwinders@valleysierrasbdc.com, and glad to spend the time with y'all today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Katie, for walking us through QuickBooks Online, and it's really great information on what to look for when you're in the program and some of these features. So if you'd like to review this webinar, you'll receive a link to watch this on demand. And then also Hector Garcia is going to be a great resource on YouTube. So thanks for sharing that with us, Katie.
Absolutely.
We will send out a survey. Please let us know if there's some future topics you'd like to see. Let us know how we did today. And thank you so much again for joining us. And everyone have a wonderful day. And thank you again so much, Katie.
Thank you again. Have a great day.
Bye.
Bye.